Hey everybody, this is Sheets, and I'm going to be doing a first look at the UFC card for this coming weekend. I'm going to do things a little bit differently this week. There's not too much going on in other sports, so I have a little more time to absorb some of this UFC content during the course of the week. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do kind of videos kind of along the way. First, I'm going to talk about what I think the slate should look like before I even look at props, before I even look at other content, before I really dive even further into this. And I think it's interesting to see how we end up at the end of the week. Some people think that you should usually just go with your first instincts and your first look, and not get poisoned by all the content that you absorb or anything like that. But I think that's definitely somewhat ignorant. I think that the more information you are able to gather, the better off you are. But I do think it's healthy to get an idea of what the slate, I guess, could look like before props come out. Because when props come out, the projection starts to become sort of easy, and people start to gravitate towards certain plays. So let's take a look and see what it could look like without even knowing all that. What we think the prop should look like, for example. Also, there could be fights that drop off, which is going to impact how we analyze things later on in the week. But for now, let's take a look at it as if it were a full 14 fight card, which is what it's listed as now, and see what we would like here. So, first thing to note is there are two 5-round fights, the Pantoja Asakura fight, as well as the Rachmaninoff Ian Machado Gary fight. Um, and I think that the 5 rounds could possibly help both of these fights. I think that the Pantoja fight is more, not want to say fragile, but I think the 5 rounds helps that fight maybe a little bit more. Just because I feel as though the Rachmaninoff, especially the Rachmaninoff side, I mean, I think that he is probably going to have a pretty strong, inside the distance line, especially early. So I don't know how much giving him 5 rounds is going to help him. But I guess I guess it should. Gary has not been finished yet. I mean, I don't think he's lost yet. So for us to say that Rachmaninoff's going to take this guy out really early is probably somewhat ignorant. So I think the 5 rounds is going to help both these fighters as well. But this Pantoja Asakura fight, I certainly think is going to benefit from the 5 rounds. Uh, However, just because both these are 5 round fights does not mean that you have to jam these, because you have 14 fights to choose from, or I should say 12 other fights to choose from, which makes it a very, very good, GPP type card. So let's just kind of go through these. The first fight, Kennedy and can't even pronounce some of these names sometimes. Kennedy and Zechuku. He's a big, big favorite over Lucas Brzeski. And Brzeski, we've seen him a bunch of times, and there's been no times where he has been particularly inspiring. He was okay against Budai. People actually thought that he might have won that fight. He did get 113 significant strikes off. Then he got completely ragdolled by Carl Williams. Got first round KO'd by Waldo Cortez Acosta. Then I guess a decent, I don't know, I think it was a unanimous decision against was Walker's brother. I forget his name. He ended up doing well in his next fight. Then he got blitzed by Mick Parkin. So he hasn't exactly shown out. And then this Kennedy Nzechukwu, we don't know what to make of him sometimes. He had a cupcake matchup against Chris Barnett, and that was kind of an embarrassment to watch. He had a very curious split decision loss to Wilvan St. Preux. I mean, he was a huge, huge favorite. It was pretty surprising to most people that not that he lost, that he just, I mean, yeah, that he lost. I mean, I don't think the decision was particularly bad, but very curious that he would come out so poorly. And the fight before that against Jacoby, I mean, nobody really expected that either. I mean, it was supposed to be kind of a very competitive fight, and he just got caught and just crushed. Um, he did get two finishes against Kutalaba, Devin Clark, and then Roberson as well. Kind of a weak loss to Nigamorano. Dow John, I mean, first round KO'd here. This type of resume is not very, indicative of a big, huge 5-1 favorite, which is, I think, what he is here. What is it? So I don't know about this. I mean, I don't know about this at 9,400. Well, I mean, look, if we believe that that's his money line, then sure, 9,400 makes sense. But I mean, this whole thing just seems really fishy. I do think that I also don't think that he's particularly a lock to finish. Um, I guess most of his wins, if not all of them, are by finish. So that might be an ignorant thing to say, but the guy's never really impressed me too much. And Bresky, he's the exception of the Parkin fight. I mean, he doesn't get destroyed out there. So I don't know. I think this is going to be a pretty poor, big price play in DFS as far as Njoku. I don't know if I'm going to be able to play Bresky just because, you give me a 5-1 underdog like that. It's just kind of hard to get to him. So I don't know. I do have similar thoughts, by the way, about the next fight with Chase Hooper and Clay Guida. Well, a little different. I do have more confidence in Chase Hooper's skill set, I guess. I mean, you look through his resume here. I mean, he's certainly come on. He had a couple of kind of fishy fights, several years ago. Lost to Steven Peterson at Pick'em. Then against Colares, he did get that third round TKO, that was actually pretty nice. This Peter Barrett fight was interesting. This is all the way back, 4 years ago, but still, almost exactly 4 years ago. He was losing, and then he got that heel hook as a big favorite. Oh goodness. And then this fight against Steve Garcia, he just got murdered. I mean, he just got into it striking wise and just got blasted. Then he fought Nick Fiore, and actually, he put up a lot of volume there, and pretty much controlled this fight. It did look a little ugly at times, but he certainly got the job done. And when you look back, I mean, to be able to get him at Pick'em seems pretty dirty. Jordan Levitt, first round sub, just got the job done there. The Borishev fight, I mean, this was quite amazing, actually. I mean, the idea was that if Borishev could keep this on the feet, Hooper would have no chance. And what happened was Hooper actually got, I don't want to say lucky, but he knocked him down in the first round. And after that, he was just all over him grappling wise. But in fairness, he was supposed to have a pretty big grappling advantage. So how is he going to pay off 9,700? So therein lies the question. For 9,700, he's got to, I mean, what has he got to do? He's got to either get a first minute finish, which doesn't seem likely, or get multiple events, meaning takedowns or knockdowns, along with a finish, probably. 9,700 is just a very, very difficult price to pay off here. The thing also that kind of bothers me is that Clay Guida, I mean, he's been around the block. He's fought a zillion fights. He's got, a decent amount of grappling. He's got 3 takedowns, 4 takedowns of his own. Some of these fights. He lost to Silva, but he did get 2 takedowns there. He took Garcia all the way to decision. he got subbed by Puelas in kind of like kind of a freak fashion here. And this is the type of result that's going to, I guess, put Cooper in position to, to pay that price tag off. But I'll tell you what kind of concerns me about that is this here. So apparently these guys fought in a grappling tournament, I guess, Fury Pro Grappling, and Hooper did get the first round submission. Okay. So what concerns me about that is that I think even more so than before, Guida is going to be he's going to be very cognizant of Hooper's skill set. He's as I said, he's been around the block. So he knows what people, how to analyze fighters and what they can do. And to expect Hooper to come out again and get like a first round sub, which is really his main, I don't know, his main source of value here. Because he's not the kind of guy that's going to take somebody down time and time and time again. He'll go for scrambles. He has all kinds of subs in his arsenal. But the ones that pay off 9,700, it just doesn't feel like Hooper entertains that type of aggression, where it's just takedown, control, 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 another takedown, control. If he gets that sub, he's going to go for it. And I'll tell you this, there's a whole bunch of first round subs in Hooper's range of outcomes that do not make up. What about the subs where Guida goes for a takedown and then gets subbed in the first round at like the 2 minute mark? You know what Hooper gets for that? Like 93. And that's not going to work, as far as that price goes. So I'm actually kind of down on Hooper at this price as well. So right off the bat, you have two pretty big favorites, and I'm inclined to be under on both of them. Now, again, unfortunately, I don't believe that playing 5-1, 6-1 underdogs is good business in DFS. So I'm probably going to be rooting against both these fights. Okay. Max Griffin against Michael Chiesa. So the price of this really makes you have to deal with it. Whenever you have this 8,300, 8,200, whatever fight, you really have to analyze this a little harder. Again, we don't have props yet, which is sort of good. Okay, we can just kind of analyze this stuff. We do have? We do have the unders here, at least for the prices, and it's minus 185 for over 2.5. So this fight really does not rate to be very aggressive. So someone like Griffin is probably going to be a very poor play. I mean, you look at his results here: decision, decision, decision. Okay, you have a couple of KOs over here, actually, decision, but the majority of his wins are by, or at least half of them are by decision. So I think that he's going to be almost, only kind of an average play at best. Chiesa, on the other hand, does flash at least some takedowns. Okay. I mean, you look at his results, he's got sub. Like those are his wins. In addition to that, you get takedowns to go along with it. At 7,900, he becomes a pretty intriguing DFS play. So I do like him, and I think Griffin is okay. But I definitely think Chiesa is going to be the better DFS play of these two, because in Chiesa wins, I think just he scores more often than Griffin in his wins. Joshua Van against Cody Durden. This is another example of this. It is certainly a striker versus grappler matchup, and almost always in those matchups, you do want to favor the grappler in DFS, especially when the grappler is this mid-range underdog like this, because again, you're not going to get finishes out of all your fighters. And you do have to kind of analyze which of your fighters can score well in decisions. And in this particular fight, I think Durden is the one that you're going to want. I mean, you just do a cursory look at his game log here, and he does have it in him to get multiple takedowns. I mean, he doesn't always do that. Well, Schnell, he probably was getting there eventually, but he didn't get a takedown in the first round, which was interesting. And Ulanbekov, I mean, he didn't get any takedowns. So is it possible that he's sort of abandoning this somehow? I can't imagine that. See, the Charles Johnson one makes sense. I mean, he had 11. Charles Johnson was someone that was known you could take him down. But I'll tell you, there are some fights where he doesn't, necessarily go for takedowns as much as you would think. Now, you'd like to think that in this matchup, he would know that Van is someone you could go after a little bit. Van certainly has the strike. All right. I mean, you look at he's high volume, a lot of significant strikes here. I'll tell you this, Joshua Van had a couple of takedowns of his own in those last 4 fights. So look at some of these scores. So I think that both of these fighters are going to be in play here. I wish that Van were just a little bit cheaper, but even so, I do feel that the volume can matter as far as Van goes. He does have some KO upside, I guess, in this matchup. He actually got KO'd by Charles Johnson that 3rd round. That was actually quite amazing. Like Van was doing great. And then he just sort of ran out of gas. Well, I shouldn't say that. But Charles Johnson has a very, very strong gas tank there. So anyway, I think that fight's going to be interesting. Not like a lock or anything like that. And I obviously think that Durden is going to be popular because whenever you see a fighter with like 10 takedowns, 4 takedowns, whatever, to 7,700, he's going to get played. I think him and Chiesa are both going to get played here. Maybe Durden a little more so. But I think for decent reason, again, in decisions, these guys are just going to have a better chance to score. Anders against Weidman it's going to have to be a fade, right? And this was the fight that got canceled just after lock a few weeks ago. I mean, I think both these fighters can wrestle, I guess. Anders is more of an athlete, but Weidman's got experience and good takedown defense. This fight just rates to be really boring and kind of a low volume, maybe striking battle with maybe some clinching. I mean, this fight's probably a fade with respect to DFS. Right, Brian Battle versus Randy Brown. So I want to take a look at the over-under or the total on this one. Yeah, so even still, even though it's a 1.5 total, it's still juiced to the over. So it's not as if it rates to produce any real big inside the distance line here. I guess Battle is going to look okay, maybe like a plus 140 or plus 150, maybe a little worse than that inside, but that's not really going to be that great. He also doesn't have any really, I mean, got some takedowns, I guess, but I don't think that's going to be his method here. I think he's just going to try to, outstrike him and get a KO. I mean, obviously, this one is the one we want. First round knockdown, quick win bonus, 126 points. Giussette also, he had 2nd round KO. This one, he had a bunch of control time too. Wow. And he got a whole bunch. What happened here? I guess, so we didn't get a takedown. I guess he ended up on a scramble. I ended up on top of him. I think 8,700 is maybe a little healthy of a price, meaning it may be a little frothy. So I don't know about this one. Randy Brown, on the other hand, Um, he's not much of a finisher. Actually, that's not true. I mean, he's got some finishes here. This one actually might not be bad. I mean, when these props come out, I bet you he's going to be like plus 300 inside or something. And if that's the case, I mean, at 7,500, I think he's going to be pretty in play. So I actually do like that. All right. Evloev this versus Sterling. Definitely an intriguing matchup to say the least. I mean, you have two very, very strong grapplers going against each other, and that could, that could work many different ways. Usually, well, two main ways. One is that one guy is just better than the other one, and I say that half facetiously, but typically these grapplers are not the greatest defensive grapplers. So if it turns out that Evloev is just that much better wrestling or grappling than Sterling, it could be a long night for Sterling because I don't think he's never faced someone who's had such a big edge on him as far as grappling goes. And likewise with Evloev, I think that if Sterling, with his experience and whatever, can actually get the better of the grappling exchanges, I don't know if Evloev has it in him to fight off his back. So that's one outcome. But the other outcome is that this fight just kind of busts, with neither fighter getting a big advantage or worse, like one fighter get the takedown and control round one get the takedown and control round two, and then round three, it's just nobody smashes. Um, we'll take a look at the money line here. Well, I have to say, this is actually quite amazing that these are the prices. Sterling, he's fought the best. First round over Sandhagen, and then two fights against Peter Yan. One of them was whatever, he got lucky, but the other one he dominated. Destroyed Dillashaw when Dillashaw was injured. Cejudo, I think that there was a split. I thought that Sterling won. And then I don't know what he was doing, not going for takedowns against O'Malley. Then he goes into a grappling tournament. I don't know what this was all about. Fought a rather uninspired, I guess, performance against Calvin Kattar. Is that fair to say? But I don't know, 8 takedowns. What do you want from the guy? 8 takedowns, 11 minutes of control time. I mean, isn't Sterling just kind of like a DFS lock here? You know what I mean? When I say that, how is he really going to win without getting like all kinds of takedowns and control time? So at 7,300, you just sort of have to play it, don't you? His price is what? Is it 2 to 1 underdogs in there? So 33 or so percent of the time, or 30% of the time, he's going to be in the optimal lineup, right? How does he not make optimal if he wins? So you're starting to build this kind of portfolio of grappling underdogs here. And the Sterling one, I think, it's probably the best because Durden can win and not make optimal because he's only 7,700. Because he's 7,700. But if Sterling wins and makes optimal, if Sterling wins, he's 7,300. I think he's almost not a sure thing, but pretty close to make optimal if he wins, and that's going to happen about 30, percent of the time. All right, Themba Gorimbo versus Vicente Luque. So this is actually quite pretty amazing. You have the Gorimbo, who just seemed like he just made his debut like 2 weeks ago. But you know what? He's made his his mark. He got into the UFC. He lost a tough one to AJ Fletcher, and since then it's basically been one-way traffic. It's getting better and better every time. Um, I will say that his level of competition has been on the weak side, and this is, I don't want to sound like one of those guys, but I mean, but this is a different thing. You know, fighting Vicente Luque. I mean, listen, Vicente Luque obviously in this fight against Buckley, he got wrecked. I mean, he just was just offered no resistance, but he was amazing against RDA. Okay, so he got third round KO'd against Jeff Neal. Fair enough. What are you going to do against Bilal Muhammad, I suppose, when he gets his thing going? He subbed Michael Chiesa in the first round. Another first round sub here. Okay, I mean, yeah, this is 4 years ago. It wasn't like it was 100 years ago. He's 33 years old. I don't know about this. I think, number one, I think that Luque is going to get some money. And when that happens and he's like even money, the 7,600 is going to look even better. I think he's extremely live. I think to say the least. I don't. I almost want to bet this. I mean, I got nothing against Garimbo. He's been great, but I mean, this is a huge jump. And for him to be 80, you know, whatever he is, like, was he minus 150? Should I just bet this? This has got to move, right? This has got to move. All right, we're going to bet this right. Plus 127, is that fair enough? Plus 130. Let's go to bet online. Boy, I really want to hammer this thing. And again, what do I know? But this is my opinion. Which one is this? UFC 310? Is that this thing? Yeah. So let's see what these prices are. I mean, Luque plus 130. What do I want to bet here? I don't really know how much to bet. I mean, when I do the contrarian betting patron, I just go for 180 just because, again, you know, just having fun with it. But I mean, I really like this. I guess I'm an idiot. I'll go. I'm running so well with this account. All right, let's go 1,800. 1,800 to win 2340. Okay. All right, moving up, we have Dominic Reyes versus Anthony Smith. Yikes. So Anthony Smith, I mean, they keep leaving him for dead, and he still shows up in fights. I mean, it's this fight against Petrino was like amazing. You know, like he just totally got him. He just got him. It's the best I can say. He didn't have much of a shot against Roundtree. Just didn't have the power to keep up. Johnny Walker fight was an embarrassment. Ryan Spann, that was pretty good. The Lice fight was whatever. Another interesting guy they've left for dead is Dominic Reyes. So Dominic Reyes was literally about to retire, I think. He had like 100 losses in a row. And then he just trashed Dustin Jacoby. I do think that the only side of this I would probably play is the Reyes side. You know, Anthony Smith, and he's known as a grappler, but if you look at his actual fight log, he's had no takedowns, and he's had very few takedowns here. So he's going to have to win a striking battle with someone who's 7 years younger than he is, I think. Um, so I don't know if I'm going to play Anthony Smith. So what about Dominic Reyes though? What's that line going to look like? I bet you that's a minus. I bet you that's a minus 1.5 credit bet pick 'em or something. No, not really. So I think Reyes is okay. Let's see. Does he get any takedowns at all though? It's the problem. You have to go way back to his wins. I mean, he had a tough split, unanimous decision against John Jones. He's fought nothing but animals here. Like these are tough fights. This fight was really curious. I actually had Span in that fight. Um, and after that fight happened, I thought he was dead. I mean, I thought that Reyes was just, but he's back. Like if he's actually back, he's gonna. He's only what 34. Uh, what's Anthony Smith, by the way? He's only 30. He's 36, but I don't know. I don't think I'm going to play Anthony Smith. I think Reyes is kind of is a fine play. Not great. Nate Landwehr against Duho Choi. All right, this is going to be. I know this is going to be the popular play at the end of the day. How do you not play Nate Landwehr? He's just the guy that you love playing in DFS. The guy never stops. He has just unlimited heart. He can go for takedowns. He can go for knockdowns. He can bloody it up. Whatever it takes to cash your ticket, Nate Landwehr will do it for you. And at 8,400, how do you not play him? You look at Duho Choi. I mean, he looks. I don't know, man. He took 2 years off after 2016, and then took 4 years off after the Charles Jourdain fight, and then had a draw. He did get this second round KO over Bill Algeo, which was it's actually pretty amazing. I mean, these guys, how do they find it in them? Well, what are they? Well, how old are these guys? So Duho's only 33. Hmm. Nate Landwehr's got to be like he's 36. Now, like this Jamal Emmer's first round, it looks good. Dan Ige, I mean, this is a tough spot. Austin Lingo's terrible, so whatever. This David Onama fight was just literally amazing. I mean, I encourage you to watch that and try not to bet on this guy. You know, and the Ludovic Klein getting him a submission, third round submission. I mean that aged like freaking fine wine. I mean he's since he lost. I mean he does look at his record here. Freaking craziness. So I think I guess you'd have to consider both of these plays really strong because for one, Landwehr's got to look like an amazing play, and if so, you usually are supposed to play the opponent who looks even if he looks just decent. So Duho Choi, listen, Nate Landwehr, he's got unlimited heart. He's and what comes with that is some defensive irresponsibility. So if that's the case, Duho Choi is very live for a KO. So I think I think this fight you're going to want. You're just going to want this. Okay, Bryce Mitchell against Karan Gracie. All right, so let's think about this fight in the same way as we think about the Chase Hooper Clay Guida fight. You have a big favorite, and the favorite has a big wrestling upside or big grappling upside over someone who's sort of a grappler. Now it's who's someone who's definitely a grappler. Now, it's not exactly the same as the Hooper fight, right? Because Guida can do other things, I think, except grappling, where Kron Gracie cannot. And I think, in a way, Hooper could do other things except grappling, where really Bryce Mitchell cannot. His last fight against Emmett, I mean, he just got buried. Like, just got crushed. Fight before that, this was a big win. Was I at this one? Is this the one that was in Toronto? No, it's not the one in Toronto. But he got his 5 takedowns, got his control time, got his dub. You know, Tapuria, he was actually decent in the first round. Then he just got Tapuria-ized. What are you going to do? The Edson Barboza fight was his most, impressive. Knockdowns, takedowns, he was all over him. And Feely as well. So the other thing is that he is somewhat, he's not old, is he even over 30? Let's take a look. He is 30. As opposed to Kron Gracie. So he's 36 and he is sub or bust. Okay. He's a submission grappler. So question is for Bryce Mitchell's perspective, can he get there at 90? Was he 9,400? It's not exactly the same price as 9,500. A little less than Chase Hooper. Well, maybe. I feel like the thing about Gracie is that because he's such a good submission grappler, he's not going to mind too much getting taken down. And I don't believe that. See, I think that if Bryce Mitchell really just wanted to win and nothing else, he would keep the fight on the feet and win a very boring striking-based decision where everybody booed, but he wins. You know what I mean? Like, but I don't think that Bryce Mitchell has that in him. I think he's just gonna go out and just want to just dominate. He's gonna want to go out, get a zillion takedowns, and hopefully control him and sub him and be all over. That's especially coming off a loss here. So I think there's actually a shot that he could get there. I think there is a shot that he could get there. If he gets into that, takedown and then gets in that full mount and gets into that, that full on, Donkey Kong, position. He could get a whole bunch of significant strikes followed by a sub or a KO on the ground, which could score pretty nicely. I actually, I don't know. Do I prefer him over Hooper? Do I prefer him over Njiku? Do I prefer him over Dominic Reyes, for example? I don't know. I think so. I do. I think I do prefer. Maybe I prefer Reyes. Now, again, I'm a sucker for this wrestling, so I think that I prefer. It's because he's a shorter price than, say, Hooper. I think I do. What I'm doing, I'm relying on Bryce Mitchell's poor fight IQ. Because again, if I were just betting him to win, and I had $1 million to bet on him to win, I had to lay 5-1 or whatever, I would order him to stay on the feet probably. I mean, there's no way Gracie beats him on the feet ever. I just think that if Mitchell wrestles and just gets stupid, Gracie does have some funky submissions in his repertoire that he could get him, But if he doesn't get them, I think that Mitchell can get a whole bunch of control time, a whole bunch of takedowns. But how many takedowns can he get? I don't foresee the world where Gracie gets up. I don't think he's going to want to. So I think the most he's going to get is maybe 3. You know what? Let's do it. Let's have some fun here. Let's pull up the scoring tool. I have one somewhere. Wait, no, it'd be an MMA, right? So let's see what you get here. Let's say that he gets 1 takedown per round. Let's say it doesn't finish. Let's say he gets no knockdowns. Let's say he gets a decision win. Let's say he gets 3 takedowns, and let's say legitimately 4 minutes per round of control time. So 120 to 12 minutes, that's 720 seconds, right? And then let's say he gets 80 significant strikes, 80 strikes, maybe 60 significant strikes. What does that get you? It only gets you 94, And that's for the full 12 minutes of control time. It's tough. If instead let's say you got 2 takedowns and you got a sub in the second round, well, you wouldn't get as many strikes, but let's say you got 60 strikes and 40 significant strikes. Well, then you're on to something, then you're getting 120 and you're in business. So it's a question of what you think, if you think that Gracie can survive all that and take him to a boring decision, then maybe he busts. But you're not going to get 720 minutes of control time in 2 rounds, right? You're only getting 8 minutes, so you're getting 480, right? Let's see what that looks like. Let's see, 460. So 113 for a second round average, victory like that, which is fine. 113. Does it make optimal? Some of the time, not always. So I think it's fine. I think it's probably better than the Hooper, I guess. All right. Cyril Gane and Gracie again just doesn't win often enough to play him as an underdog here. I mean, we have a good set of underdogs here. Chiesa, Brown, Durden, Sterling, Luque, Choi. There are some good underdogs to play. Cyril Gane versus Alexander Volkov. Yep. Pretty good heavyweight matchup here. Cyril Gane's, run towards greatness was put to a stop here. First with a kind of an interesting decision loss to Ngannou. Did okay against Tuivasa, 3rd round. I guess that's all right. Just was nowhere against John Jones. And then he pretty much destroyed Sergey Spivak. So he's still improving, still a contender. Then you have Volkov, who, he's fought everybody. He did lose to Gane back in 2021. All right. So this was the interesting one. He lost a 5-round decision. As I recall, it wasn't particularly close. And in general, I mean, you'd like to think that the younger fighter would have made more improvements since then. But let's take a look. I mean, good win against Tybura, good enough, right? All right, lost to Aspinall, whatever. So does everybody. Destroyed Rosenstruck in the 1st round. Destroyed Romanov. coming back, beating Tuivasa, second round sub. I mean, pretty good performance against Pavlovich. I mean, even though it wasn't particularly DFS friendly. So I wonder what the props are going to be here. I have this feeling that I just have this feeling this fight busts. I don't know what else to say. We'll take a look at the props and see if there's anything yet. I mean, it's over 2.5 rounds. You got to lay minus 250. This is pretty heavily juiced to finish. I mean, to go to decision. So with that said, I mean, probably going to avoid this. Um, yeah, that's my initial opinion. So we're at these two 5 round fights, which I alluded to much earlier, and I have to imagine that Rachmaninoff is going to look good here. I mean, he's probably going to have a minus 110 or at least inside the distance line. And he's got some takedowns, I guess. You know, he can get there in he can get there in decisions, you know, if he had to. Rather not go to decision here, but could. And Ian Gary, his path to victory is just winning. You know what I mean? Like he the if he wins at 70 whatever 7,000, uh is it going to be good enough? I guess it sort of has to be, right? Like so how does he win and not be optimal? You know, in a 5 round striking battle, maybe that's really tough. How does he? I mean, I don't think he's got the wrestling upside. I mean, the advantage. I don't think he has necessarily a striking advantage. He doesn't have the physicality advantage. He is kind of a fighting nerd, though. I mean, like he studies. You know, he could come up with a good game plan, I guess. I think he's got it in for him here. I don't know. But I guess with the 5 rounds, I guess you got to put both these guys in play. Um, yeah. Main event, I think is going to be awesome. And I think from a DFS perspective, I think you just have to lock it in. I just do. I mean, you have talented fighters with events. There could be knockdowns, there could be takedowns, there could be reversals, there could be all kinds of stuff going on at 8,800, 7,400. I really think you have to. I don't say you have to, but if you lock this fight in, I would not kill you for that. Um, I don't even know what the props are going to be. I mean, it's basically it's one of the better ones actually. Actually, it's over 2.5. That pick 'em. All right, but I mean Pantoja. I mean these guys. Pantoja. Look at these scores. Are you kidding me? How do you not play this? It's like ridiculous. And then you have this dude who's supposedly pretty good, and whatever. He's only 2.5 to 1. So he's only 2.5 to 1 against this legend. You know what I mean? Like he's got to have something. And I would imagine that Pantoja's got to be the most popular fighter on the slate. How can he not be? I mean, with this line score, you know what I mean, at 8,800. I mean, how do you not jam him? So if that's the case, then you have to get some of the other side. Like you said, these guys are going to throw. They are going to throw down, and Asakura has certainly got credentials. You know, does he have Pantoja credentials? No, but I don't like some of these fights on the books. Like, I don't like him getting KO'd in the first round by someone I've never heard of, or losing a 3 round decision to someone I've never heard of. But I don't know. I'm going to let the line kind of speak for itself here. Like if I just saw this against Pantoja, what is this now? He got KO'd by Manel Kape. I would think Pantoja would be like a 10 to 1 favorite, you know, because it's only 2.5 to 1. I really think that they got to have something here. in Asakura. So I'm going to try. So I'll definitely play both of these guys. So this is the really early look, and it's the Monday look. And I'm curious to see how this look changes as I start to absorb more content, as I start to become poisoned by more content, as I as we start looking at the props. But overall, like all of these underdogs look really, really good. Okay. And both 5 round fights look really, really good. Those big favorites, I just don't know. You know, between Mitchell, Njoku, Hooper, Reyes, they look fine, but I envision a world where you don't need them. I envision a world where Landwehr outscores the ball, like for example. Um, anyway, that's what I got as of this early. It's Monday. Probably not going to do another one until Thursday, where we'll have the props and we'll do a little bit. But if I do hear of anything else, if I think of something, I'll do another video. And that's going to do it for now.